Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Jessie and I usually make videos on Mondays all about houseplants. If you are seeing this video on like Tuesday or Wednesday, I might be a little bit late with the upload on this video because I have COVID. I have been staying inside the last year, almost year and a half now. But alas, I got COVID last week. So this is the first day that I feel actually like good and decent enough to film. So if this video goes up like a little bit late, I do apologize about that. I'm sure you guys understand. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, please go ahead and do that. I think I have like almost 375 subscribers now, which is like amazing. So thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed. Without further ado, because I know that I ramble, let's go ahead and get into today's video. And today we are talking about one of my very favorite plants that I own, and that is my albo syngonium. So this is an albo syngonium. I wanted to specifically talk about the specific care needs and things that I do to keep this beautiful plant healthy, because although their care needs are very, very similar to like regular syngoniums, there are a few things that I do a little bit differently for this plant that I do for my other syngoniums, just because of the variegated nature of them. So in this video, I'm going to talk all about their lighting, their watering, their care needs, humidity, propagation, all that jazz. So let's go ahead and get right into that. Before I get into the care of this plant, I want to let you know what I paid for this plant. Because if you've been on my channel before, you know that I like to be very transparent about plant prices, because plants are sometimes very expensive, and I don't know, I want to be honest with you guys. So I actually purchased this plant well over a year ago, probably almost approaching 2 years I've owned this plant. And I bought it as a 2-leaf cutting, like a rooted 2-leaf cutting, not even potted up, on Etsy, where I buy most of my like rarer plants. And I paid $100 for 2 leaves, which is absurd. It really is. It's a lot of money for a plant of that size. But at the time, I just really wanted one, and I was willing and ready to pay that price. And to be honest, they have come down a lot in price since the last 2 years have gone by, as they should, because they are very quick growers and they're very easy to propagate. The only thing I will say is none of the leaves on here are from the original 2-leaf cutting. So if you have one of these, just be prepared that you will probably lose a lot of leaves. Not all at once or anything scary like that, but their older leaves tend to die back. Like they have a pretty quick turnover cycle. So honestly, like none of these leaves are original, and none of these leaves are even like the ones that grew like right after I got it. So these are all like fresh new leaves. They kind of drop their leaves and then grow new ones. Like you can see, I have a new one growing right here. So I want to start by talking about their watering needs, because I personally think that that's one of the most important things that you should talk about when you talk about care needs of a plant. Syngoniums in general are epiphytic plants, which essentially just means that they're meant to like climb up trees in the wild, or like branches, I don't know. They grow with like nodes that come out, and they're able to use their aerial nodes to grab onto things in the wild. So what that means for your watering needs is that you need to water this plant very, very, very sparingly. And that is actually an issue that I had made several times with other syngoniums before I acquired this one, is that I thought because of the more thinner nature of their leaves, I would have to water it more, because typically like thinner leaves tend to want a little bit more moisture. That is not true though with syngoniums. So syngoniums really, really like to dry out. So for me, what I do is I wait for all of my plants really to tell me when it's time to water. So you will notice right now the stems are very like springy. If I touch them, they kind of bounce back. They're like very stiff. When it is time to water this plant, the stems just get very droopy. Like the leaves start to just droop over, just like ever so slightly. And then that's how I know it's time to water. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and water them all the way through. You've heard me talk about that before probably if you've been on this channel. I don't just like pour a little bit on the top. No, I pour it all the way through till the water comes out to the bottom. That's just a good rule of thumb for most plants. That's why I have a drainage hole in this pot. It's also important to keep in mind your soil for syngoniums. So if you don't have your syngonium in like a chunky mix, which you want it to be in a chunky mix, you want like perlite in there, you want horticulture charcoal, orchid bark, whatever. But if you don't have it in that, if you just have it in like a regular potting mix, you're gonna probably water it even less than you would if it had chunky soil. So right now I probably water this maybe once every 2 weeks. And if you have it in a less chunky mix, you're probably gonna be closer to like once a month, which seems like not a lot, but they don't want to be overwatered, and you will lose leaves and they would yellow very quickly if they are overwatered. So try and avoid doing that. Next, I want to talk about lighting for these guys, because that is something that I have sort of altered for this syngonium as compared to some of the other syngoniums that I have. The reason for that being is that they have like these white flecks all over them. Sometimes the white even comes out as like a half moon, so they'll have more white on them than like some of the other leaves. So what that means for you is that white on a plant means that there's very little or no, there's no chlorophyll in the leaf, that part of the leaf anyway. So it's not able to make or photosynthesize from that part of the leaf. You probably know this already, but if you don't, like if you get a fully white leaf, like fully completely, then that leaf will die back, because if a leaf is fully white, it's just not going to be able to make food for itself. It will die eventually. So as far as lighting goes, that is important because I have to keep this plant in a little bit less light than my other syngoniums I would. So this is more of a medium light plant than like a bright indirect light plant because of that. So you can even see probably, oh, right here, I have like a little bit of browning on the white there, and that's honestly from just getting like a little bit too close to a grow light, like a little singe. So if you want to avoid that and you want to keep your white parts looking like nice and bright and not brown, then you probably want to give it more medium light. Syngoniums can kind of honestly survive in a lot of different lighting conditions, so it's going to do fine either way, and they're very quick growers regardless of the fact that I have it in medium light. It does very well for me, so it's about probably 5 feet back from the grow light, so it's pretty far away. So yeah, you just want to keep your lighting a little bit lower than regular syngoniums. Next, we are going to talk about humidity. I always talk about humidity when I do care needs, even though sometimes it's not even that important. So for this plant, it's kind of like, could use some humidity. Is it going to die without it? No. I have this plant in my plant room, which always has the humidifier going, so it's somewhere around 60 to 70% humidity in this room, kind of at all times. And that also really helps with that white on the leaf. If you don't want to singe the white parts of your leaf, then I would recommend you go ahead and increase your humidity a little bit. But syngoniums are very easy and very tolerant plants, so even if you don't have any humidity, like if you don't have a humidifier going at all, they'll probably still do okay. But if you're really trying to preserve the like pretty parts of the leaf, then you might want to consider going ahead and getting a humidifier for these guys. Lastly, I just want to touch on propagation. Now, this plant specifically, I've never propagated from, but I used to have another albo syngonium, which I also bought on Etsy, but I didn't need 2 of them and I bought it on a whim, so I ended up chopping, propping, and then just reselling it. But I did that, I propped it multiple times, and I did it each time in water. I started trying to do it in like moist sphagnum moss, and I got no root growth at all. Like it just wasn't doing anything. And then I took it from the moist sphagnum, put it in water, and within days it had roots growing. They are so easy to propagate in water, and to be honest with you, most of my plants I propagate in water unless they're like very specifically finicky. But these guys specifically, they do totally fine in water, and in fact I've had really good success doing that. So the only thing that you'll need to know is you want a node in there. Just like monsteras, just like pothos, you need to have like an aerial node. So I've been waiting to propagate this plant because it hasn't really given me like easy access to a node yet. But now it is, it's starting to. So probably within the time that this next leaf comes out, I'll be able to snip it underneath the node, and what I'll do is probably propagate it and put it back in the soil to get a bit of a fuller plant. But yeah, that's really the only important thing to know. You need to have at least 1 node If you want to have 2 nodes in there, you might have a little bit better success. Put it in some water, leave it there for 2 to 3 weeks or so, and honestly, you'll start to see root growth pretty much immediately. They're very, very easy to propagate, which is kind of why it's pretty shocking that they're so expensive, but you know, alas. The last little tidbit that I just want to leave you with is more a preference thing, and that's why I wanted to leave it at the end, and that is just if you are somebody who wants to get that very mature leaf syngonium look, then you're going to want to stake this up. So for me personally, I prefer the syngoniums to be like the more arrowhead form. I like this kind of shape. So all of the syngoniums that I've had, I have not staked up. I've kind of just let them like trail off and do their thing, and whatever they cling to, they cling to. But if you are looking for that like spread apart, more mature syngonium look, I can put a picture on the screen of what like a mature syngonium would look like. If you're looking for that look, then you're going to want to go ahead and stake them up because, like I said in the beginning of the video, they are epiphytic, so they want to climb. They do fine if they don't climb, but they just stay in their more like juvenile form. And if you want them to be a little bit more mature, you're going to want to give them a moss pole or a bamboo stake, something like that, that they can start to grow bigger and bigger and get more mature. Alright, you guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. I know that my energy is probably a little bit off and I feel a little bit down, but I've just been sick, so thank you so much for sticking with me and supporting me. I cannot say enough what that means to me. I hope to see you in my next video. Please remember to wear a mask and sanitize because you do not want this. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.